Hello, I'm Clint Lambert, host today of Village in Motion, and it's my pleasure here on Thanksgiving Day to welcome two people from the General Services Council Committee, and that is Gray Parks, who is the council liaison to the General Services Committee, and John Lee, who is the co-chairman of the committee, of the General Services Committee, and the chairman of the Safety Committee, which is a subcommittee on General Services. Glad to have both of you with us.
Thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to both of you and to everyone.
And it should have been Dining Services talking to you today, I would think.
Well, hopefully they're cooking.
Well, no, that's true.
Not the residents.
There you go.
That's right.
There you go. Exactly. Okay. What's happening in Dining Services? Excuse me. I see you did it to me. You did. What's happening in General Services?
A lot. General Services is a big committee. It's a big unit. It really covers so many of the things that touch everyday lives of the residents who live here. We're a big committee. We cover 4 or 5 big areas of work. We cover all the maintenance, engineering, the grounds, the buildings, everything like that. And we cover safety and security. We cover environmental aspects here. And we cover transportation, you know, the shuttle buses, the metro buses, the shopping buses, all those things, all covered by this committee. So, in essence, really all the physical kind of stuff here covered by General Services Committee. It's a big committee. Larry Ayers is the chair, but Larry couldn't be here today.
Right.
I'm the vice chair. And we meet once a month. We talk about all the things that are going on with regard to the physical plan and to security and that sort of thing. And one of the interesting things about our monthly meeting is Lynn Keefe comes.
Yeah. And Lynn Keefe is the director of General Services.
She's the director of General Services. And Lynn Keefe, we like to hear that because she gives us the lowdown on every major project that's going on campus. One of our committees keeps up with that anyway, but this brings us all up to speed and stuff that we hadn't gotten so far. And that's always interesting. People scribble a lot of notes there when you find out what's going to be torn up and what's going to be taken down and all that sort of thing. But a big part of our program every month, we have 25 people on the big committee. And a big part of that is listening to the reports of the subcommittees and the issues that the subcommittees bring up. So a lot of the work, in fact, most of the work of the committee per se, is done in the subcommittees.
And you talked about the fact of how large the committee, you have a large committee. How many people are on the committee?
25, I think.
25.
Plus we have, the council liaison, resident council liaison, that is Gray Parks, and Lynn Keefe comes.
Right.
I think there are about 25 in total.
And then how many subcommittees do you have?
We have 4.
Okay.
The 4 subcommittees, one is called Grounds, Maintenance, Engineering, and Grounds, Maintenance, Grounds, and Engineering, something like that. And they look at all the projects that are going on, the physical plant, all the renovation projects, things happening on the grounds, everything from tree removal to new boilers.
Right.
They cover that. The Safety and Security Committee is looking at just that, how we maintain and protect the safety and the security and related issues of the residents here in Green Spring. And the Environmental Services Committee, they do a lot of work. They got some people who take seriously what they do, everything from recycling to proposing solar activities to whatever it might be. And transportation. Now we catch a bus out here, or we catch a shopping bus or whatever. Who's keeping up with, are those buses out of date? Do we need better buses? Are the bus ramps working? What's the schedule we're going to have? All those things they're looking at in the Transportation Committee.
And so you guys collect data from residents in regards to that then and discuss it with
Well, take the Transportation Committee. They collect a lot of data. I was going to talk about that, but they collect a lot of data. Been doing it for a long time. And so they know exactly who's riding what at what hours. And then they take a look at that. For example, if they found out that the shuttle buses are running at a 2-hour period during the day and no one's riding, had no one's risen for a year.
Right.
Then you take a look at the efficiency of the schedule and say, can we put those resources to work somewhere else? Maybe providing better transportation services somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, we found that hours between 7 and 9 in the morning, very few people rode, and so we've recommended that they start at 9 rather than 7. And as a result, they can free up a person to do other things.
And with that, has that gone into place yet? Has it been implemented, or it's just been a recommendation?
It's been a recommendation. I think the council has agreed to some things, but they haven't. It hasn't started yet.
Oh, the council agreed, approved the changing of the hours, and it hasn't been implemented yet either.
I'm not going to say what those hours are, because I don't want to get people all worked up, and it may or may not happen, so we'll see. But in general, one of the things that is very important as far as the General Services Committee and the subcommittees too, we serve as sort of a nexus with all the concerns and the issues of the residents sort of flowing in, and we put those out to management.
Right.
And we try to keep them appraised. Here's the things the residents are concerned about, unhappy about, or we observe cracked sidewalks, or whatever it may be.
Right.
And also a very important part of that are the comment cards.
Right.
We get all the comment cards, and also we get the comments from the listening post.
Okay.
And that's a major
and
part.
so those come to the council?
No, those come to
they come directly to...
No, the listening post comes to the council.
Okay.
The listening post is run by the council.
Right.
But the comment cards are directly to General Services.
Okay, all right.
But we collect those, and they're summarized and provided to the General Committee and to all the subcommittees every month. And every subcommittee, as far as I can tell, take those very seriously. Sometimes you get one, you say, that's pretty frivolous or whatever. But we take them seriously anyway and say, well, why is that an issue to somebody? And then we try to talk with the people who manage. For example, in each one of the subcommittees, the appropriate manager from General Services meets with that subcommittee. So we're not just talking to ourselves, we're conveying messages to management. Okay. The other part of it, in addition to getting information from residents into and discussed and filtered and refined and whatever into management, we take the concerns that, and sometimes the solutions to those issues or concerns, as well as issues that management brings up. For example, in safety and security, we hear about all the things that have happened during the past month. We get Ben, the security manager, Jean-Pierre Benacruz, provides us with actually color-coded 3 or 4 page summary every month of all the activities of security staff during the month. How many people fell? How many people fell in independent living? How many fell in common areas? How many pull cords were there? And how many of those were accidental pull cords? So many accidental. You find out, for example, things that you come to appreciate staff more.
Right.
Because you find that for example, security cords, they're like 200 and something accidental or mistaken pull cords every month.
Wow.
But every one of those has to be treated seriously. You don't know whether someone's really fallen or just somebody happened to hit the cord.
Right.
They tend to those. For example, if your toilet doesn't flush at night, who responds to that? The security staff on night. If they can't fix it, they try to get in touch with the maintenance or hold off till the next morning. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. So then we take that information and stuff that the residents should know, put it in the form of an article for the Villager, put it in the form of a poster for the bulletin board, put it in the form of a note that goes on the scroll. The village
Bridge.
Village Bridge, thank you. And any outlet we have, the Flash, other outlets, and we get the information out to the residents.
And that is essential. From my standpoint as a resident, and I'm sure just from yours also, it's essential to get that information out to the residents as soon as possible in regards to, just as you mentioned, the bus schedule. As soon as it's official, it needs to be disseminated to the residents in regards to things. And the residents need to read the information that's out there. And I think sometimes we overlook or we neglect to read the articles or read the bulletin board or view the scroll or any of that information. Then we go, what's happening? Why hasn't it happened? What's going on with this?
That's been a very frustrating area for me, and I've been here 8 years, and being able to communicate between the management and the residents.
Right.
And it's not I don't think it's so much the fault of the management. Sometimes they don't put things out, but it's too often people just don't take advantage of the communication that we have. The Channel 6, the people that watch Channel 6 is very low. And part of that has to do with the changing over the TV, but nevertheless, even at that time, it wasn't very high. And our best communications, I think, is probably the Villager, because it goes to everybody and most people read it. But that's
we only
been
get that
very
once a
difficult.
month. Yeah.
Very, very difficult.
Very difficult. And with General Services, with all the information you guys have, all the projects that are going on, Lynn, Keith, and I passed one another last night in the hallway, and I immediately said, you're finally leaving. She said, yeah. I said, you don't have anything to do around here, do you? I mean,
Well, the Flash is I think, a successful means of communication because it's now providing on one page a lot of information every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Right. Which is very nice in regards to that.
Yeah.
But you guys get the reports of the different projects, right?
Oh, yes. Well, we talk about that. The Maintenance Engineering Grounds Committee, every month they meet with Scott, the manager of the General Services Projects, overall manager. And they keep a list of everything going on. The committee keeps a list. David Smith is the chair. And that committee comes together with Scott and say, okay, here's all the things we talked about and everything we know about. One by one, go down. What's the state of progress? If there's a delay, why is there a delay? Did you consider this or that? And they go through, they meet a long time every month and go through all these projects one by one. And there are a lot of projects.
There's a lot of projects.
Big projects we can see, like windows and refrigerators and redoing the kitchens. But there are dozens of other smaller projects we don't see, but they keep a tab on it.
And what I like about Dave's minutes of his meeting is he started out in January with these different projects and the status of them. In February, he didn't delete what was for January. He bolded the changes. And so he's done that throughout the whole year. So the change is bolded, but you've seen what went on under each project.
And you really see how much has been accomplished.
Yes, and I really appreciate Dave having done it that way. It's never been done before, to my knowledge, that way.
And it's nice when we as residents really take the time to see that and to hear about that and to recognize just what has been accomplished around here and for our behalf. I mean, for our benefit.
Oh, yeah. And so much of it has been emergency.
Yes.
They've been hit between the eyes with some of these projects, and it's been difficult.
Yes. Well, I can give you an example of, I have a list of some of the accomplishments of that committee
that'd be great, if you
during
would.
2017.
Okay.
For example, I'll just read off here. They provided photos of incidents discovered and reported. For example, garbage pickup, is it working like it's supposed to be?
Right.
Like all these garbage cans at all the doors when you go out to a place. New trash cans, concrete buckling and cracks in the concrete. That's a serious matter. It's small, but if you have a concrete joint and one, two inches
you got an
high,
elevation or at a joint.
and someone trips on that and falls. That's right.
Exactly.
But things like trees and shrubs overgrowth and all that, patio awning cleaning completed during the entire campus. Parking deck repairs were completed. Kitchen dishwashers were replaced in the 3 major clubhouses. Upgrading of the flooring in all 3 sites to be totally wet environment for the cleaning. Makes much better to clean now and much more hygienic. Elevator signage has been installed throughout the entire campus to identify the elevators for security purposes and other people. I'm reading a list here. New apartment doors installed in neighborhood 1, been completed. Town center clothes dry vents have been cleaned. The regular window replacement has been completed in neighborhood 1 and almost complete neighborhood 2. That's a big issue, of course.
Right.
They pressed housekeeping to make sure the wooden guardrails are clean, for example, in the hallways, and I see them doing that more frequently now. Building signage has been installed. Neighborhood 3 stairwell handrails have been replaced, and they repainted the stairwell to fresh coat of paint. Kitchen freezer replacement in neighborhood 1, floor upgrades, all that. And so that's in addition to all the ongoing kinds of things.
But those are accomplishments that are obvious accomplishments that the committee has seen that have been accomplished
Right.
in regards to that.
Right.
And then you got the ongoing projects.
Yes, ongoing things like elevator installation. This is forever.
No, not forever. There will be an end to it.
No, there will be. Actually, there are always explanations for why they get delayed.
Right.
And I think the people in Lynn Keefe's shop, really work hard at making these things move along. But sometimes it's a matter of the county getting code approval and that sort of thing.
Got Fairfax County with their codes, I mean, approval of things takes a long time.
Well, not only that, you can go through a year-long process of getting all the codes approved,
Right.
and then you come back and find that they've changed some of the personnel, they changed the codes.
Codes, right.
Start all over again. But there will be an elevator. They're down to, they have specific plans, they have a contractor. I think it's been approved, it's going through corporate now for final go ahead. So there will be an elevator at Village Square, another elevator.
Corporate slows down things too.
I'm sorry?
I said corporate slows down things
Right.
too.
Oh, yes.
But but you have to remember they're our management company.
They are.
And so it's their responsibility to make sure they're managing, and
Right.
they do have a responsibility in that area.
Yeah, they do.
But there are a lot of ongoing projects. In fact, all the committees have ongoing things, and the subjects stay in general the same year after year.
Right.
But the specifics vary from one year to the next. You have to keep responding to some of the same issues.
And,
Like-
in that vein, I think we always need to keep in mind the fact that it takes about 5 years from the time something is introduced before it's totally completed. At least that's what I've noticed over the last 9.5 years that I've lived here.
Well, the elevator
project.
is a good example of that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because I remember under Gene, we started the elevator.
Right.
And briefed on it. It was going to happen in in the next 6 months, you know.
She didn't say which 6 months, though.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Well, and other ongoing stuff in the maintenance area is campus-wide elevator and patio door replacement. Now we're getting neighborhood 2 finished up, and neighborhood 3 will be next. We'll finish that in 2018. That's moving very well. Resident boilers have all been replaced or refurbished. That's something people don't see, but it's very important.
It's very important if we want hot water.
And they had about 30-some.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
they
they're
had
like
a lot. They had a
25
lot.
or 30 big boiler systems, right. The Garden Ridge cooling tower replacement has been done, and it's undergoing some additional upgrades.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Garden Ridge. I mean, need to think about the fact of the add-on of the wing, the closing in of Garden Ridge in the backside. I mean, that's an ongoing project. That's
Big project.
well underway.
Yeah.
And Lynn is a project manager for that, so
Right,
that's
yeah.
general services.
It's general services that comes under. And then just recently with the safety issues in the kitchen over there at Garden Ridge, that has been an issue, and it's an immediate need. And the reason that I understand that they stopped the work on Fireside's kitchen to go over there and take care of that immediate need that was there. So
And you have to respond to emergencies like
Exactly,
that. And you can't predict those sometimes, but
Fireside will continue serving the a la carte meals until
Right.
maybe 3, 4, 5 months.
could
yeah,
be a long
and
time.
it will not be plastic and everything.
No, until then.
Until it needs to be, because right now everything continues to be, China and silver. So moving right along.
they're going to rehab and improve the bridge between Neighborhood 2, Village Square, and Town Center.
Right.
That bridge has got some subflooring problems, and also the air conditioners there. So they're going to do some work on the windows, the air conditioning, and replace the flooring. But they're going to do that in a way so that it doesn't stop traffic from flowing through there. So they got that planned. That probably will get started pretty soon, and may even be finished early into the new year.
Yeah.
Should be done. Then I think there's another bridge they're looking at, maybe just putting in new flooring and that sort of thing. Yeah, so internal wiring, supporting in Garden Ridge, this roaming alert system, I don't know much about, but they've had to rewire all of that to bring it up to date.
And that's for individuals who wander, and they want to make sure that they're safe, and they want to make sure they know where they are
Right.
In regards to things. And so they've got to make sure that all that is working properly.
And in Rose Court of Garden Ridge, they have renovated the 4th floor. They renovated the amenity spaces
Right,
of the
right.
3rd floor. They're working on the others, and they should begin over in Evergreen the first of the
And
year.
those renovated spaces really look nice.
Yeah,
They do look nice.
Really very nice.
Yeah,
In regards to
the
and so those
floors-
are things that needed to be done. In regards to it, that they're doing a nice job of.
The floors are easier to clean. It's more open and spacious than it was before.
Right.
In general, I think they like it over there.
And the nice thing is they really haven't interfered too much with the residents in the case of the renovation of the Rose Court.
Right, exactly.
Well, I won't cover anything else if I keep going on the maintenance side, but I will point out that all of the 396 sprinklers throughout the campus are being replaced. So anyway, that's just some of the things.
Those are the sprinklers for the bay windows and so
Right.
forth. That
Okay.
They didn't.
Not irrigation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And thank you. 'Cause I was going to
That's
ask you about
right.
that. So what you're talking about is the fact of the sprinkler heads that were freezing,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
With the bay windows
Right.
and areas that were not
And call it-
adequately insulated.
And cause some flooding sometimes and that sort
Right,
of thing.
yeah.
So they've actually changed it so that it will be dry outside.
Right.
And hopefully that will. And the LED lights, I think, is another major project.
Yes,
that will be
trying to
ongoing.
gradually replacing the lights with LED lights.
In the
And
garages.
that's throughout the campus, right?
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
garages
right.
and outside lighting, right?
Right,
Yep.
outside lighting.
Okay.
Let me mention environmental services. They've been hard at work this year.
Oh, yes, they have.
They just recently completed a new study called Solarizing Green Spring, if somebody wants to get
Oh,
this.
Yes.
It is a very well-researched paper, as you might imagine, with Dan Ancona. He does everything well. They have 2 recommendations coming out of that. One has been forwarded already to the resident council. One of them is to have solar panels over the new pool in the new town center repositioning that will heat the swimming pool. Solar
That's a
panels heating-
proposal.
That's the proposal. It's going to the resident council. And he's already talked to Lynn Keefe and management, and there's a favorable attitude toward it. Whether it happens, I don't know. Also, they've recommended, and this will require a lot of study and corporate approval and all that, developing a canopy system over where the cars are parked outside, and on the top of that canopy, having solar panels. They do 2 things. 3 things. They provide shade for the cars, so your car is not sitting out in the sun. They provide electricity for Green Spring. And 3, they will provide, when people start buying all electric cars, some places that'd be easy to put in plug-in places for electric cars, electric parking spaces.
And that seems to be a move for the future
Oh,
in
yes.
regards to people moving to electric cars and needing the recharge post in regards to it.
Yeah, based on the study, the solar panels could provide 3 to 4% of the electrical power for Green Spring.
I think
But
that-
again, they have to go forward in a proposal. Then
Yeah.
everyone has to discuss it and make some decisions. And so there's no guarantees with either one of those proposals
Right.
that they would come to fruition.
But they try, when they're putting these proposals together, to show how it would benefit Green Spring, saving of money, saving of maintenance, whatever. Because they don't just say this would be great for the environment, they say, okay, it also makes economic sense. That committee works continuously on the whole recycling thing, looking at what's the recycling in the trash. They measure the number of pounds and tons of trash we go out and how much is recycled. Recycling in the by the mail rooms, separating the box of trash and the box of recyclable material, if people would just pay attention. And the styrofoam cups have been replaced, for example, in the
And I understand with that,
Potomac Cafe.
they're looking at other things that could be replaced in
Right.
regards to dining.
right. And they're looking.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, One of the biggest is when the apartments, when someone moves out of an apartment or goes to Garden Ridge or whatever, the apartments get renovated. Well, what they've been doing in the past, all those cabinets and appliances, all that stuff in there is just tossed. And they're looking at programs of recycling that material by taking the usable stuff and giving it to charitable groups to use that, and the ones that are not used by somebody or some other way to recycle it, so it's not just thrown in the dump.
What you're telling us all the way along, and with all of this that you've talked about, is in fact, Green Spring is looking at how we can continue to progress, how we can fit into the future, and how we can make things more economical and more user-friendly and environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
Tell you what, guys, great to have both of you here and talk about all these. Great. Any closing statements?
Yes, I do have one closing statement. You know, I was on the General Services. Before we had this larger committee, we had two General Services committee.
Right.
I was on each of those. And then I was there when we formed the first big committee. But this year, the committee, to me, has really done well. I've not seen as much work put out by the committees in the past. And so I appreciate the work that they have done very much.
Very good. Well, it sounds like the committee has been very, very active, and as a resident, thank you. Greatly appreciate that.
Didn't even get to two committees.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. It shows just how busy General Services is and how busy the committees that are from the council with General Services.
Yeah, we only had 28 minutes.
I had 28 minutes. Okay. All right, guys, thank you very much. Glad to have you with us, John. Glad to have you with us. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.